welcome to another episode of Good Morning
Hello,
Nasdaq.
shush up, Huddy. Good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq. It is 8:49 a.m. on the 19th day of August, year of our Lord 2024. Fireworks in the pre-market. Congratulations to all longs and overnight swinger gappers on all monkeypox stocks, GOVX, APDN, VRAX. Quick shout out to Ty Clementson in the chat. Says, hey guys, just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work. I've been focusing in and studying a lot of your material. And thanks to what I was able to feel comfortable sizing out on GovX for a swing. He made $1,400 risking $50. I thought I read somewhere.
Attaboy.
I read it somewhere. Why is it just made 50% and $1,400? So congratulations there, everyone. W's in the chat. Over here for Ty. Welcome into a beautiful morning here in mid-August. Pretty insane gappers. We'll be talking about them because a lot of them are up on the scanner this morning. Kind of a slow week last week. Looks like it's going to be a little bit exciting here, at least until the open. A lot of these could crap, and we'll talk about that potential here in a moment. If you want to be like Ty and you want to upgrade your education and get on over as a 3 or 4 leaf Clover, you can head to clovertrading.io, reach out to support if you have any questions, but you can get yourself access to the room where you have access to us all the time, as well as you can always ask questions to Gratani or Kellogg or Schwartz. They're all in there, and they have no reason to answer you, but they do a lot of the time, and we're really grateful for their generosity. And you can check out all of our webinars. We have live webinars every week, as well as video lesson archive, and trade alerts and watch lists. So if you want all of that, head on over to Clover Trading, clovertrading.io. How are we doing this morning, Huddy?
We're feeling good. It's feels like the first day in quite some time that we're not going to be talking about CING at market open, which was the stock of the day or the week last week. I was talking to my buddy last night, just like after dinner. And he was like, what are you going to trade this week? And I looked at him in the eyes and I said, monkeypox, looks really good. I think they're all going to gap up. I think they're going to be in play. And so here we are with monkeypox themed stocks all over the place. It's spreading.
What's spreading, monkeypox or the charts?
Well, I guess both, but I was referring to the charts.
Okay. And we will get in and talk about those here in a second because a lot of them are on the gap scan as well. Any words of wisdom here this morning, Huddy, before we start a new week? Maybe speak for all those who did not participate in any of these. Maybe they're not long bias traders. Maybe they just missed it because they have a slow week last week. Coming in a new week on a slow August, maybe a little bit of unrealistic expectations coming into the week that there's going to be fire and you got to click a lot of buttons.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest thing to kind of take from all of this is learn what steps, like where were we in the week? Why is this all happening? What charts led the pack? Just understanding sector momentum, like whether you played it or you did not. This is a phenomenon that happens in small cap quite often. So being able to put these puzzle pieces together in real time can be very profitable. And so kind of studying what recipe led to, this sort of gap is really important. And then, moving forward, also having that in the back of your mind that now this is a chase. Now you've kind of missed the easy money, and sure, there's going to be volatility today up and down, and I'm sure it's a scalper's paradise on day two. As far as like the breakout moves and capitalizing on like the easiest money and the biggest like meat of the move, that part is gone. So having that in mind, not saying that they're automatically shorts today, it's just understand where we are in the framework coming into today and what to expect after days like Friday into today, right? Because again, this is a phenomenon that happens all the time. It can be super rewardful, but if you're on the wrong side of it or if you're over trading it just because it's here, it's not going to be good for you.
Gosh, wonderful words of wisdom. Normally when we ask Huddy, we don't get any, so let's all just be grateful right now that we just got some words of wisdom. He's excited because he's got gappers. He's a gapper trader. And what do you say we rapid fire through them? We'll talk about the monkeypox stocks first, look at the gaps overnight, talk about any and all. I'm sure there won't be a whole lot over on Dilution Tracker in terms of catalyst because we know what the sentiment is here. Sometimes it's a specific catalyst that we're interested in. Sometimes it's just a theme. And Huddy alluded to it with sector momentum, and that's what we are seeing right now. Who knows how long it will be here? It could be gone in 2 hours. But while it's here, we take a moment of silence, just be grateful for it. All right, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. You subscribe to the channel. I don't know if we're at 5K, but we've been on a mission for it. Hit the subscribe button. Get 2 or 3 of your friends, your grandma, your aunt, go on their phones, their tablets, whatever it is, hack their systems, like the content, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. So GOVX was the one, I think we talked about it a decent amount last week before Friday's big move. I even think people were talking about it for first red day, right? I think on Friday morning we popped in, we said,
I think the exact paraphrasing was someone wrote in the chat, GovX question mark. And then Don was like, this is my least favorite question.
I think that one said first red day.
Oh, did it? Because I remember you saying, like, if you're just asking my thoughts are give it a couple days and let it break out. And he's like, and you were like, I'm sure that's not the thoughts you're looking for. But that's what I think.
Well, half of that was right. It did break out. Didn't take a couple days though. Just continue. I think that's why as well. I mean, if it was a first red day question, why you saw our hesitation, a very slow move, 2 to 4 is fine, 100% over 3 or 4 days, kind of going red every day. It's not a quick spike. There's no real overextension or speed up. There's not really a ton of volume. And that's why I don't think, there was a lot of questions in the room Friday. I remember seeing about like how overextended it was even on Friday. But I think a lot of us were looking at this more of like day one. And this is kind of the nuances within trading where it's not all black and white, where, yeah, it's on day 5 on Friday of uptrending, but what days really matter, and the volume I think is what really separates that between the days. And you got 108 million volume traded on Friday, obviously leading to a significant gap up this morning as high as the 11s or 12s. You had the big breakout over the 488 area, but this was the one I remember, earlier in the week we said GovX and SGIA are the old ones that we remember from this sector. And again, a part of sector momentum, and you can learn all this stuff over at Clover Trading because we've traded a lot of different sectors. It's just how to go from one ticker to the next. And once you've seen runners happen in one sector and they do well and people remember them, people make money on them, they show up again. The next time things get, every time you hear about COVID stuff, a certain amount of stocks pop up. You hear about oil and gas, you're going to see INDO's name, HUSA, TPET. We have a catalog of these stocks, and we didn't have too many from the monkeypox department. But Sega, I believe, was in the midst of a huge gap down. Looks like it recovered that gap down. This is interesting. But then a few others started to show up. And following GovX's momentum, you saw APDN kind of pop up on good volume into the Friday afternoon. That one went from the 40s, closed in the 80s, gapped up over 2 in the pre-market. You had VRAX, which kind of slowly grinded all day. And this is the other thing. Maybe this isn't something you normally look at for a gapper, a stock that went from 140 to 240 into the close on this. This one was actually kind of a multi-day, multi-week, multi-month breakout. But the reason you get the gaps of this magnitude is because of GovX, it's because of monkeypox, because of the sentiment over the weekend, time for it to build. And this is just a phenomenal example of it. I'm sure Kyle will probably do a video lesson. He was long all of these overnight. So if you want access to that, again, clovertrade.io, because this is a great lesson on, how we're not always interested in gapping stocks up every single night of the week, every month. Most of the time we're barely looking. Kellogg does it really well. But if Kyle can do it, anyone can do it. And there's a reason behind that. It's a lot more of a art here than a science. And so while we're talking about some of these, GovX not really up that much right now, but is kind of the main runner on good volume, up in the 10s and 11s, the highest priced one. Let's start with APDN, Huddy, up 110% right now. Do you want to dive in to the dilution tracker? Is there anything here? Or is it just, you're just kind of treating this as a gap and crapper on one that has just followed along with the momentum?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be the latter, mainly because I think the volume is going to be so overwhelming that any real dilution that there is going to be overwhelmed. Now, some of these dilution trackers are going to be worse than others. Some of these are going to be more cash strapped than others. So there might be an added edge. I think it's still worthy of going in. But for the most part, I mean, these are going to be horrible companies, right? None of these are running because they're actually going to cure GovX or cure monkeypox. Like literally, probably, maybe Siga's the one, and again, they have a treatment for it. So all of this is just like a money grab for these companies. I think that's where you have to start, right? Um, so they're all horrible. Just because monkeypox has spread out across Africa, it doesn't mean that they're any better tomorrow. But they're going to experience some volatility. So I think we're just going to really peer into these companies and see that they are horrible companies. And then, you know, is the dilution going to matter? If they all trade 100 million plus volume today, no, because there's not going to be that much dilution. It's just going to trade and do what, stocks generally do on day twos that gap up insanely when stocks are extended.
So, what are your thoughts? You looking at the daily
So my
charts
thoughts
here, or
are,
is it just that they either are just big gaps over the weekend and fail, and they're kind of all going to be on their, I mean, all do the same type of thing? If one fades, they all fade. Do you see one separating
yeah,
from the
I mean,
pack?
I think GovX is the head of the snake. It's got the most volume. It's kind of the thicker stock, biggest market cap weighted. So I think a little like if GovX starts to pull really hard, like I think all of them are going to start to pull really hard, right? They're all going to kind of move in one giant symphony. Um,
Ooh, a
do I
symphony
know if
of
they're all going to
stocks.
do I know if they're all going to crash today? That's kind of that unknown. There's three scenarios that I can kind of see playing out. There's a scenario where they all go back to their previous day's levels. There's a scenario where they kind of like hang, like a hanging man type of candle. And then there's, a scenario where that hanging man type of candle, whether green or red, turns into a gap up and we have, day two or day three on to Tuesday. Like all three of those scenarios are totally in play. So there's no guarantee here. But in my experience, it's generally hard for these stocks to hold day two on 100% gap up. So I don't expect them to necessarily hold up all that well. But again, it's gonna be super rangeful day. All these things are gonna have range. So picking your spots is gonna be really important. As far as
Yeah.
APDN
Oh,
goes,
okay.
there are some warrants. Go ahead.
199.
Yeah, 199 stockholder approval required, shareholder approval required on a lot of these. So
That's a long PP clause that I don't want to read.
I don't think you really have to. So I mean, these are the worst types of. I mean, if I just read the first sentence, and you can't put that much weight into it, but alternate cashless exercise options are some of the worst options. I don't know if these necessarily are alternate cashless exercise, but maybe they can become if I read this whole sentence, which means that they basically get the shares at zero. Um, so they're like it's almost like an ATM type, so to speak, where they can just kind of dilute wherever and make money. It doesn't look like they have that PP clause activated just yet, but on one of them they do. So we'll see. I mean, again, this whole thing's a money grab, so it doesn't have to happen today. But in my opinion, like now it's like on APDN, when's that stockholder approval, and how fast can we get these shares in the market and sold because they're at a massive profit right now, or are they? APDN 160s? They need another day.
Um, yeah, I kind of look at this grouping APDN, GOVX, VRAX as a group of three. And this is kind of the artsy part of it versus the science. I'm not technically looking at these as individual gappers, although there are, as you get into your careers, you start to prioritize, right? Say, I want to short all these today. Like you would decide which one has the best risk reward, which one has the best range, which one's up the most, which one doesn't need to be up as high as it is, which one is way overvalued right now, which one does have dilution, which one has the safest flow. These are all things to take into consideration when trading these. It's rare that, when we go through a sector momentum that we end up trading every one of them. A lot of the times we end up buying some of the sympathies, shorting the main one, and then having a little piece on the what do you call the body of the snake, the low-hanging fruit, the ones following along with a little bit less volume. But I kind of look at these as kind of one of two ways. Either this momentum is going to continue, these gaps are going to maybe pull back a bit, hold up, maybe we get another gap up tomorrow, or as we've kind of seen, which has been short-lived, a lot of the momentum we've seen, a lot of the big over the weekend gappers have kind of pulled back towards previous levels from the prior day. And we just individually, these are all just day two overextended gap ups, right? And that has been something it's been very hard for stocks to continue on. CING Friday, a good example of a really big gap up on day two. And you see a lot of people shorting, the 10 to 12 area. It doesn't break down. You get that end of the day squeeze. And we've seen more of that than we have in previous years. I feel like over the past year or two, the overextended gap up on day two has been a pretty good pattern in terms of win rate. And now I think we've started to see that it's not as high. And there is a chance that these stocks continue higher, which is why I've tried to sit back and wait for more of them to be red on the day, like CING is today. So no guaranteed plans for them. I am interested in all of them on the short side, but if they all are super strong out of the gate, specifically GovX, I think it might be better just to let them go, let them do their thing, see what this sector is made of, really. And if they are fading, I do expect maybe there's probably another ticker that we don't know about right now. Maybe it's sitting on our scanners just chilling. That does find some momentum. That's another thing that tends to happen on the backside of these moves is you do start to get some lower quality but good sized moves on stocks that are somewhat related to the sector but aren't part of that first initial phase. And or maybe 2 out of the 3 of these get hit hard today and are back down near yesterday's levels, and one of them holds up and squeezes out later. So there's a lot of scenarios. I encourage you guys to make your plans. Really ask yourself if this is a pattern you trade or not, whether it's to the long side or the short side. It's very easy to see in the chat rooms. People made money over the weekend. People are all giddy and happy because their weeks are locked in, and you're sitting there at 0 still on the day, and you feel like you need to do something. I encourage you to really write down your plans today. Really be honest with yourself if these are patterns for you, or if maybe you should just stick to your watch list. What happened?
I also encourage you to study the framework because this is the framework. And just again, like, part 2 was knowing where we are in the pattern and then knowing where we're going, right? Like if you miss, and the beautiful thing about sector momentum is like the volatility and the volume kind of hangs around. So if you miss, day 1 or the breakout day, which both of those kind of come and passed, there's still a world where there's first red days. There's still a world where there's, bounce shorts. There's still a world where there's first green days. There's still a world where there's breakdowns further in the pattern, right? So there's still tons of opportunity when you get this type of volatility and range, that just because one part of the, a pattern has gone doesn't mean there's not another 6, in front of you. Just so being prepared and knowing, kind of what Dom just said, like what's your pattern? What part of the life cycle do you really want to attack? And when is it? When's it going to be predictably? Like when do you have to get ready?
And understand the framework in the sense of not that you need to tonight learn it right now and then trade this part of the pattern. Know where we are, and this is the part that I generally am okay missing. This initial run, like I love to be a part of it, but a lot of times my biggest trades are in a week from now on these stocks if they were to hold up. In oil and gas in 2022, my biggest trades of all time happened 10 days into the move. Huddie was at my house. We watched the first INDO, IMPP runs. I participated in INDO, but not IMPP, and IMPP ends up being a week later the biggest breakout chart I ever trade. And what we're trying to say is just a little caution, is you don't need to do everything. There is the potential for there to be a lot more opportunities on these, whether you are long or short, and don't let that FOMO and that anxiety and that jealousy of other people creep into your morning on this beautiful Monday morning. Alrighty. That is your monkeypox department today. The actual biggest gap of the day, and is it actually ALZN? Is it actually one, or is it like a reverse split or merger or something? Let me see. Yeah, I think this is a real one. All right, ALZN is actually the biggest gapper of the day. Huddie, have you seen this one yet? Do I have Huddie with me?
Give me a sec.
You got to get your Starbucks from the door. ALZN is up 214%. Already noticing a similarity here with last week's CING. The week before that's GNLN. 640K float here on Alzamend Neuro Biotech Technology Company out of the United States. They, 1 hour ago, partnered with Massachusetts General Hospital for a phase 2 clinical trial of AL001, a next-generation lithium therapeutic drug candidate involving patients with PTSD. Negative 2.8 months of cash left. Offering ability is low. Overall risk is medium. They have some warrants in the 1250 area. Not that many. Zero on the ATM. So this is actually kind of a back burner giant gapper this morning. A lot of people talking about the monkeypox department. And we have a stock gapping from the 2s to the 7s this morning on a daily chart that is really barren. There's just, we have already this morning over 10 million volume. have not had a day anywhere close to this in the past 2 years, in the past 3 years. So there's really not a lot of structure or development here. All these little tops are not intriguing to me. That's something that took me some time to learn in my journey as well. Like what resistance matters, and this is a super top left to bottom right chart in which it's obviously not been a great company, but there really hasn't been any small cap momentum where this stock has gapped up on news and we have days to look back at and go, oh, this stock likes to go on runs. Oh, this stock likes to gap and crap. We don't really have any of that to go off of. So this is kind of just a day one mover of its entire career. And it's up 221% right now, 640K float. News isn't anything that really matters in this week of the catalysts that have been intriguing. The only thing I can compare it to is like a Sing, like a GNLN. It is a sub 1 mil float, so maybe something to keep an eye on if it doesn't break down fully this morning. And maybe the reason this is just gapping up so much is that shorts are just all over the place. We have 4 or 5 stocks right now that are intriguing where people are more spread out, and this one is finding a bid and holding up above 6 right now. Do I have Huddie still?
You have him.
ALZN, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it on the head. I mean, it looks and feels like it's part of the sector, but throughout all of their news profiles, all I see is that they have been trying to cure Alzheimer's and dementia. So, not the right disease for today, but maybe in the future, bud. I'd be more curious if ALZN ran back in the day with GovX and SIGA, but
How far
or
back?
just on this chart. I don't
It's
know.
never really
When
ran.
stocks. Yeah, so yeah, I kind of put it in a different boat, kind of like you said, right? Just like a low float, biotech stock that's caught a lot of heat, maybe caught some shorts off in the pre-market here. Just thinking that everything needs to like not go up insanely, and low floats are going to low float. So not many comments. My whole thing about last week was kind of avoiding the low floats. So we'll continue to do that because those have proved to be a headache in most scenarios, at least of recency.
I would agree. Yeah, because this is the fun thing about trading, right? Is you kind of just always have all these ideas. It's like, so GNLN and CING, similar floats, not great news. We're really strong, up 100, 200%, and they squeezed out and went much higher. So you got to think this one's probably going to fail because everyone's going to think it's going to be the same thing and go up. But
I will say, I think the odds of 3 low floats squeezing super hard back to back to back, I don't think that's high odds. I mean, obviously, like kind of coin flip type conversation. Like, of course, you could get heads 3 times in a row, but it's not likely. But again, each stock is its own and independent, flip. So it's really not something you put that much weight into.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I got to sneeze here. It's coming, but not coming. All right. All right. Any questions? Let's see if we have. We hit most of the gappers. Okay, I feel good. We're at all of
You
those.
forgot VRAX.
Well, I kind of use that as a.
Yeah.
I talked
fine.
about it in the grouping of them. I don't know what's different about this one.
The only thing that's different about VRAX is that it is a former runner within the field. This was like one of the main COVID runners. So they're always just doing virus stuff.
Yeah, I kind of put it in the boat. Then 3, then with APDN and GovX. Like I said, definitely a world where they all do something different. One goes sideways, one goes down, and one goes up, or they all do the same thing. But out of the gate, I think probably pretty similarly treating them, either attacking them or seeing what they're made of. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there, but when I look at those 3, it's kind of like pick your poison. Which one do you want? What price range do you want? What % up on the day do you want? Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I had 140 of you in here and 45 likes. I know that we can do it in the next 2 minutes. We can get to over 50 if we believe in ourselves and the power of community. We can get this to 50 real quick. Let's see if there's any rapid fire questions. Someone said Dom always looks a bit wake and bake. I've been up since like 6 a.m. It's like this is not the morning that I get it some mornings. I probably look a little like I just got up 20 minutes ago, but
And they wonder why my camera's not on. Stop with
and
the
we
judgment.
the judgments over here,
The
guys.
judgments at 6 a.m.
I know.
I want you to just
Turn
be
your camera
Hollywood
on, and
ready.
we'll put you on right now.
No, no, no.
Good morning, everybody.
You look stoned.
Darian has thoughts on CING, overextended gap down, less eyes in this play due to the big runners. Yeah, that's kind of my thought. Sing, I avoided Friday. I posted some commentary in the room just because these day two big gap ups have been tough. And when they get into the 10 to 12 range and you're talking about a sub 1 mil float, the range can be wild. And we kind of saw that. It started, it swiped through high day if you were risking that on right in here on Friday morning, then broke the lows, then held view up, and then all of a sudden was at 20. It was at 25 here in the pre-market. And now it's red on the day. When we think about Zap, I think about Serve. These are all these former runners that ran big. I think the red day is the best opportunity. You never know if the eyes on it or eyes off it's a good thing or a bad thing. Volume certainly looks like it's going to be a decrease this morning. A lot less interest than there was Friday morning. I think that's the pattern. Overextended gap down. Any thoughts, Huddie? That one's just kind of cut and dry. Sing.
I mean, yeah, it looks like an overextended gap down. First time we're gapping down on the day in a 2-day run. Extended. The only fear I have of it is that it is a low float, and so, do I think there can be some trickery at that green red level, and do I think it could squeeze? Absolutely. I think I'm better off just kind of pretending it doesn't exist. But if there was a day that it came down, I would think today is higher than the last 2 days. But that's pretty much all my thoughts.
Okay, someone bringing up ONCO says monkeypox up 10%. That's what I was kind of talking about earlier. Is you have 3 main runners right now that definitely got hot over the weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised over today or tomorrow while the sentiment's out there that other people pick up the news. Other people say they're doing something to contribute, and that is just commonplace. When Bitcoin ran, everyone, I remember very vividly back when OTCs were moving, some cigar company was trying to said that they were all in on crypto now, and that was their business model. Anything can happen, and as traders want to trade, it's been a slow August. I anticipate companies will be PRing about that. We'll throw that name in there. Same with AI, and back when SOUN was running, and BBAI and NVIDIA. So wouldn't be surprised to see some more trickle. It will not be my goal this morning to find the next one, though. I think that was much easier Friday when you had the ones that had volume on pretty sideways charts. And at this point, it's just waiting, watching which ones pop up, and then reacting according to the framework. Alrighty. Adrian says, any eyes on the Fifi reverse split? I know a guy who is, and you can see him over in the Clover Trading chat. That's Kyle Williams. If you want questions on Fifi, that guy's got it for you. Alrighty, it is 9:17 in the morning. We have a busy morning ahead. I know Huddie does with all these gappers, so we have to pop on over to the Clover Trading room. Thank you guys for getting it up to 72 likes. Golf snap for you guys. Can't wait to see you tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. If you want to join the fun and upgrade your education, head on over to clovertrading.io. I'll be posting a video lesson tonight. I'm sure Kyle will as well. And we'll get you guys our webinar schedule for the upcoming week here in a few hours. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, another episode coming at you tomorrow morning on Tuesday, 8:45 a.m. Thank you for joining us right here on the Clover Trading YouTube